All right, we're getting towards the end of our first series on getting into coffee connoisseurship, of brewing really great coffee and enjoying it and exploring it. By now, you've got a French press or you've got another brew method you're brewing with, you're using the right amount of coffee to water, your water's of a great quality, it's at the right temperature, you're maybe exploring different types of roasts, you're getting fresh coffee. All these great things are leading you in the right direction. Before we end this first series, since we just talked about getting fresh coffee, I'm gonna talk briefly about storing it. Since you're likely noticing that fresh coffee, good quality coffee, has a bit of a higher price tag than you may be used to. If you've been getting coffee in the bins at the grocery store where maybe it's $6 to $8, maybe even $10 a pound, I might end up spending twice that on a really good quality coffee. And to me, that's absolutely 100% worth it. It's something that I'll get into in the advanced series, but the amount that coffee costs is so mind-numbingly low for the amount of work that goes into it. It's really hard to communicate, but just know that when you get into it, it is absolutely worth paying a bit more for good quality coffee. And because of that, it's really important, I think, to know how to make sure it stays of good quality, to store it properly. Below the video, actually, I'm gonna link to an article Jesse is the owner of Conduit Coffee. We did a test a while ago where we compared storing coffee in different ways because we wanted to see what is the best method. Now, we are, of course, always under certain impressions, but we learned some things. So first off, we discovered that the most damaging element to coffee is actually light. Second most damaging element to coffee is air, well, oxygen, as we know. So the best thing you can do to make sure your coffee stays at its freshest is to keep it away from light and keep it away from air. And there are a couple of ways to do that. Now, if you're buying really high quality coffee, like I showed this Colombia Esperanza in a previous video, as well as this blue bottle, these higher quality roasted coffees come in 12-ounce batches. I'll go through, one, sometimes two of these a week, depending on how much I'm drinking. If it's just me and I'm brewing, a couple of these a day, then I'll go through one of these a week. And I don't need to do anything too fancy. I mean, you can see I have the coffee here in its original bag. These are good quality bags. They keep the air out. This one actually naturally comes with a valve, an air valve. So when I received this originally, it was completely sealed. And I cut off the seal. It has an air valve. But what I do with this one is I roll it tight to keep out the air. The bag naturally keeps out the light, and bam. I'm gonna finish this before it needs to be in anything fancier. Sometimes I get lazy about it. This blue bottle is in a tin tie, and I'm just rolling up the tin tie. The bag's keeping the light out. I'm keeping all of these stored in a cool, dry place. They're not being exposed to, like even this rolled up, it's not really being exposed to air. It's not going to be exposed to moisture. I don't really have to worry about it. That's a good way to store coffee if you're going to consume it fairly quickly. If it's going to take you a while, then you might want to upgrade. So something like this, which is a very airtight solution for storing coffee because it has a sort of this valve that pushes out the excess air, and of course, obviously, completely air and light tight. That's the Airscape. It's a good solution. What I've done in the past is I've taken a glass jar and I've taped it shut so no light gets into it. You'll see that in the article if you check out the storage article. That's something that I've used. So that's like the simplest ways. Again, the number one thing to do is to keep it away from light, keep it away from air. This is a good option. You can stick it in a Ziploc bag too, that works. Another long-term storage solution. Now, you might have been told never to freeze your coffee, never to refrigerate your coffee. I will echo, never ever ever put your coffee in the fridge. The problem with the fridge and the freezer, or the challenge with them, is moisture. And the fridge and the freezer obviously are going to be a danger. They're going to expose your coffee to moisture. So first off, the fridge actually doesn't do anything to help with the freshness. If I were to take this and put it in the fridge, there'd be no point. It's fine as this is. I'm going to finish this before it's done. If I had 2 of these bags, for example, and I knew I wasn't going to get to the second one for a while, then I would actually freeze it. And the reason why that'd be okay in that scenario is because these bags are completely sealed. If you stick your coffee in the freezer, it's completely sealed, you got no air coming into it, then you're gonna be fine. No air going in, no moisture going in, the coffee's totally fine. And in fact, freezing your coffee, as we found in our storage test, is a great way to preserve longevity. There are some more nuanced elements to that, which I'll get into in an advanced video. I don't want to overwhelm you with stuff right now. But I will say this, if you do decide to freeze coffee, if you have a lot, if you have a big batch, if you buy yourself 5 pounds of coffee and you know you're not going to get to 3 of those pounds for a while, and you want to freeze a bunch of it, make sure you do it in a container like a Ziploc that you can completely seal. I also recommend putting it in something that blocks light too. When I do it, I Ziploc the coffee, I stick it in a paper bag, and I put it in the freezer, and then I don't touch it. And when I do take it out of the freezer, I will wait till the coffee comes to room temperature before opening it. If you open the coffee when it's cold, you're going to invite condensation onto the beans, and that's just going to cause you some problems. So that's the important thing as far as freezing coffee goes. And then while I haven't done any testing on this, I'd highly recommend not refreezing your coffee. I think you just introduce additional danger of moisture on the coffee that way. But again, I'll get into some more advanced coffee storage in a later article. Right now, again, the important thing is that block the air, block the light, and you'll keep your fresh coffee fresh long enough for you to enjoy the most of it. And the last thing I guess I'll say is don't buy huge amounts of coffee at once. Figure out how much you're going to enjoy over a 2-week period and don't buy any more than that. And you'll be well on your way towards enjoying consistently fresh coffee all the time and having a wonderful experience. So that's it for storing coffee in this video. I'm going to be back with one more video just to conclude this initial series. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.